What kind of father do you want to be? What kind of man do you want to become for your family and for yourself? If you've ever wondered how to step into the fullness of your role as a father, husband, and man of God, then you're in the right place. Here at The Father Difference, our mission is to inspire and equip men to be the best fathers they can be. It's a powerful mission. And today, we're going to explore exactly how you can take steps toward that calling. Whether you're a father, a son, a husband, grandfather, single dad, stepfather, or just looking to grow, I believe God has something powerful for you in today's message. Whether you're tuning in live or watching this later, we are so excited to have you here. If this is what you're looking for, then subscribe so you can tune in each week to The Father Difference Live. You can sign up below. And now, your host, a husband, father, grandfather, author, and former NFL player, Pastor Ed McGlasson.
Hey, well, welcome. Good to be with you tonight as we are going to, as a bunch of guys, and we've got some gals with us as well, is we're going to jump into the world of a woman's heart and learn how to maybe recapture the heart of your daughters. Maybe you're married and guys, you want to learn how to recapture the heart of your wife. And if you're a gal that's watching this, you're just kind of secret on a mission to maybe learn some things that even help your husband, navigate the amazing heart that God gives every mom, every woman, every bride to be, and every single mom. We have far too many single mothers out there. So I'm your host, Ed McGlasson. It's great to be with you tonight. And so we're going to get right into this whole aspect of how to capture the heart of your daughter, dads, and keep it over a lifetime. So what would you say? I'd love a bunch of comments right now to start going. If there was a question that you might have about this subject, I would love to hear from you. Matter of fact, I was with a bunch of guys early today, and we were actually talking about marriage and about wives and about how to navigate that story. But before I get there, I want to give you a little bit of my history in my family. I've been married for many moons to just an incredible girl that I met on a blind date. I proposed in the third week, and we now have been together, we have been together for many, many years. And 42 years we've been married, loving each other, ups and downs. And I would say probably the one who's had to change the most is me. I mean, here's me on my wedding day as Jill's walking down the aisle, and I am playing a song. Probably the most nervous song that I ever played in my life. The church is filled with lots of the Los Angeles Rams, family, friends. And I'm singing a little song called "Every Little Beat of My Heart Draws Me Closer and Closer to You." But it was a really unique ceremony, and Jill walked down, and after we, spent a few moments as the pastor, who will, give Jill to be married to Ed, and her father, gives her a kiss and hands her to me, and we walk up to the altar, and we planned this out, and we both then turned around with the microphone and said, now, before we get married, we would like to share our stories about how we met Jesus. And why? Because I had all kinds of unbelievers there in the wedding. And so Jill went first and shared her story, and then I did. And then we had the pastor there give people an opportunity to respond to Christ. And a number of football player friends of mine, we had the owner for the Rams there. And then my stepdad was in the crowd. He raised his hand and said yes to Jesus. What a great moment. What a great beginning for Jill and I. And I quite honestly, to be honest with you, I was really nervous on that wedding day, but I knew how to get married, but as a guy, I didn't know how to be married to a girl, because I found out rather quickly that my wife and my daughters and my granddaughters, they all live in this amazing estrogen river. And to most of us mortal men, we're very mortal. We're not immortal. When it comes to learning how to love a girl in your life, there's just a lot of questions about how do you do it and how do you press in? Because one of the things that every daughter has, and that's this incredible ability to build relationship, to connect, and let's face it, guys, girls are equipped with so many more tools, it seems like, to build relationship than we are as men. Matter of fact, and this happens to my wife, she's, I won't tell you her exact age, but we're over 60 years old. When she sees a girlfriend that she hasn't seen in a long time, it's like, oh my gosh. I mean, it's like they're best friends, haven't seen each other in years. And I mean, it's just awesome. And I don't know about you, but guys see each other. It's been 20 years ago. Hey, man, it's been a long time. What's up, man? Yeah, give me some skin. That's about it. And so, I got married with the full intent on being a loving, present husband. How about you guys out there? And yet in the midst of trying to be that husband, I was stepping on all these emotional landmines that I didn't quite understand. And I'll tell you how broken I was. I thought that my goal in life was get married, did that. My wife wanted flowers all the time. I planted rose bushes. And then I would cut them off when they're blooming and bring them in the house. My wife would look at them and go, "That's out of my garden." Oh man, I was dumber than a stump. And I didn't know how to navigate the heart of a woman, because my stepdad never showed me how to do this. My dad, most of you know, was killed in action, and my mother talked about him like he was just this amazing guy and lover of her, and et cetera. And my stepdad and my mom struggled. Maybe you saw that between your mom and dad. And so I wanted to be the best husband I could be, but I seemed like I was just always in trouble because I wasn't measuring up. And Jill and I hadn't learned some things that we know now that really help us in our relationship. And so I'm trying to decipher this incredible creature called a woman, and, taking out her on dates and doing all those kind of things. And yet in the midst of that, it was just incredibly hard for me to be vulnerable, because I thought the first thing I want to share with you is that it's not about, as a guy or as a husband, it's not about having all the answers of being in charge. It's really about learning to understand where your wife is and where your kids are, where your grandkids are, where your daughters are, and how do you navigate that and press in. And so, and I've shared with you guys numbers of times in different ways. But part of the reason that I struggled so much as a husband is because my own core identity had not been established. And no, my core identity wasn't about playing in the National Football League. That was a job I had. Some think it's a dream. It's the ultimate pinnacle of life. Well, there's a reason why a lot of those guys that don't end well in some of their marriages, and why professional soldiers struggle, and firemen and policemen and men who are doing combat, because I never had a marriage seminar on my football team. We lifted weights, and our job was to beat the other guy on the other side of the field. And so in the midst of that, and who do you go to, kind of growing up and being an athlete, and trying to navigate, my dad, and at the time my stepfather, and watching how he loved my mother didn't leave me very many clues, because he was sort of always distracted and wasn't available. How about you? How are you doing with the girls in your story? How are you? Is it easy to be present? Is it easy to listen to, criticism? Are you seeking to understand? And in the midst of all this, we get the opportunity, which is kind of the focus of tonight, to not only learn how to love our wives and to lay down our lives for our wife, because one of the things I've learned is that the kind of man that I am towards Jill will start out being the kind of model of the guy that your daughters would want to choose one day. And, I wish I could tell you that when they were growing up, I was just great at doing that. I wasn't. I had a lot to learn. I had a lot of mistakes I made. I had to learn to ask forgiveness a lot from my daughters, to connect with them. And when I began to learn a couple of things I'm going to share with you tonight, it changed my relationship with my daughters, and they became extraordinary people in my story. And, it's amazing what God will do if you just kind of hang in there. And part of what I was alluding to earlier, part of the way that we change the most as men is really understanding that our core identity isn't just husband or dad or father or stepdad or stepfather. Our identity is not our jobs. Those are all roles that we play. But the core identity for me that began to heal the deepest part of that wound that I had in my own story from my father, and really a lack of him teaching me how to love Jill, comes when we really connect to who God's called us to be. And that's when he calls us to be his sons, his beloved sons. So he wants to bless. And if you're a daughter watching, when you're a beloved daughter, something happens when your core identity comes from God the Father through his son, Jesus, that stabilizes you and who God's called you to be. Because when those moments happen in your life, it builds a foundation in you so that you can risk and trust that God's got your back. Because when you don't feel that, we as guys, we just distract ourselves and with other like mini wins. And what happens when you do that is that it further kind of severs. So let me tell you a little bit so you get the real gist of what happened with me. When I'm getting ready to walk out and to marry Jill, my stepdad was there. And I asked him, I said, any last words, any advice? Not the best question. And he looks at me and goes, well, son, I've learned that women are better seen and not heard. Military-like. And I'm going, what's that? What's that got to do with getting married? And then he looks at me and goes, oh, yeah, by the way, girls are just drama, drama, drama. Now, some of you are going, boy, that's dumb. I mean, that's not very good advice. Well, you would think that a grown man who played in the National Football League wouldn't repeat any of those things to my girls in my story. And yet over and over again, there were times when I would be overloaded and frustrated with my daughters or my wife. And I would just say, could you just stop with the drama, drama, drama? And it didn't hit me. I'm kind of living out of that place that my stepfather framed for me. How about you? I'd love to hear from you in the chat. Where are you struggling? What do you want to learn tonight? What are some of those nuances of being a dad? Well, maybe you got some great advice too that you could share with the other men that they're connecting here through Rumble, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, both of them, all these different places that we're live tonight that really has worked for you. And I'd love to hear that. And so I struggled, not because I didn't love my wife. Your husband struggles not necessarily because he didn't love you, but he struggles because he doesn't know what to do. Because he doesn't know how to connect, and that emotional part of him towards you so that you feel safe and secure and emotionally protected and available and communicating. I was talking with a friend today who was describing this couple that he was ministering to, and they came in for marriage counseling, and they, and the husband just, his comment was, no matter what I do, it's just never enough. And so in asking the wife, her comment was, well, we just don't talk. And so the question was, well, how long has it been since you had an intimate conversation? She said 43 years. And my husband comes home, he works all day, he provides in an incredible way. He takes care of me. He does loads of laundry. He mows the lawn, takes out the trash, does everything I ask him to do, but he doesn't know how to talk to me. So right in that conversation, what she wanted wasn't all the things that marriage can give you. What she wanted was she wanted to connect. And I would be willing to say that's exactly what every girl wants from her man, what every granddaughter wants with her grandfather, or every daughter wants with her dad, is they want to feel seen, they want to feel heard, they want to feel celebrated by you. And when you learn how to do that with them, it completely unlocks them. Because here is the cost many times of when we don't do that as a father. We frame our daughters in such a way that wound they have because they can't connect with you as their dad emotionally. Because maybe you're busy, you don't know what to do, you're distracted, you're stressed out, you come home and you check out. When your daughter's not able to connect with you, she's got this emotional bank account that she needs to be filled. And God designed it first to be filled with you as a dad. But when she comes home and you're not available or know what to do, she starts emptying that tank, and often she will go find a young man to pour her heart out to who's listening to her, kind of in hopes of finding somebody that'll do what her father never did. I was with a group of gals that I have the honor of ministering to in Southern California. And one of the gals that came, we were talking about this. And I said, well, what made you choose the guy that you have now? And there's a ministry that reaches out to young girls who get pregnant really early in life, sometimes 13 years old. It wasn't any 13-year-olds pregnant in this group, but they're married to some really hard guys. And I said, well, what made you choose such a hard project? And we started talking about their dads. And inevitably, every one of them said, I'm angry with my father. And my own personal self-worth is so low that I just figured I had to settle for at least some guy who paid attention to me. And, it was just a lesson again to me last night of how powerful and important it is for you to learn as a father to be a present, loving dad in your daughter's heart. And you might be asking, is it too late to repair that? It's never too late. That's what's so astounding about the authority that you carry as a father in the life of your girls, is it only takes a turn. It only takes a moment for you to turn back towards them. Maybe you're experiencing this pushback from your daughter. Maybe they're older. Maybe they're using your grandkids to keep you away. And with all the bitterness and stuff that's kind of running around in families, the guy that seems to have the key more often than not is the dad. And I've coached a lot of guys who have been able to break through to lost kids. And then there's some that still have lost their kids and they're just pursuing, but they've learned what it really means to ask for forgiveness and take responsibility for not knowing how to be there or being abusive or hurting them when you didn't really understand that you were hurting them. And then giving them an opportunity to tell their story to you. Here's a great question. If you've been around me for a minute, you're going to hear this question in our coaching. And that is, you go to your daughter or to that you've hurt and you say, is there something that I've done as your dad that's really hurt you, that's caused you to push away from me? Can you tell me what I did so that I can ask for forgiveness? And it's an incredibly powerful question, because most of the style of fixing families today is, I call it the sorry category. And that is, people will go, sorry, didn't mean it, having a bad day. So there's no real ownership in asking for forgiveness. Is basically, okay, I'm humbling myself. I'm sorry I hurt you. Didn't mean to hurt you, but there's no transaction. What I mean by that, there's no transaction to where you give your children an opportunity to tell you what you really did so that you can say, wow, I can tell I really hurt you. Would you forgive me for what I did to you? And then you take that moment and give it back to your daughter to give her an opportunity to forgive you. And it might take a while. You got to be willing to be in there all in for these kind of things to work. And I'm going to tell you right now, in all the coaching I've done in all the countries and all the places I've been, the number one thing that kills marriages and families and children is bitterness. That's why the Bible, Paul writes, don't let, bitterness take root in you. Because bitterness wants to root into your relationship with your daughter and wants to choke the life out of it, because the devil wants to sow that same bitterness into your grandchildren, so he can cut off relationship with them and you. And so that's the enemy's plan. And so the way we fix those kind of things is, a dad is number one, we really own the hurt. And we don't say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. You understand, you listen, you find out, and when she's ready to tell you, and whatever she says, you say, will you forgive me for that? And I'm going to tell you that's a powerful moment, because I tell you, I've learned this, and if you've been with me, you've probably already heard this story, but I really hurt my wife in the early part of our marriage with something one night, going to a beautiful dinner in Hollywood at the Belmore Hotel. And as we were walking towards the lobby to go to the Fung Lum's restaurant at the top of the restaurant, there was one of those spinning doors. And I saw this door, and it was like a game to me as a kid. When we saw that, we would run and run through those doors, push them faster, and try to run around and not let the individual panels hit you in the backside and get into the lobby. And if you could run around and not be touched by it, it was like a touchdown. So I dropped Jill's hand, ran in there. She tried to follow me into the cubicle. She missed the door, gets in the second one. Because I made it go a little faster, it smacked her in the booty, ricocheted her off the front, came back, smacked her in the booty, and launched her into the lobby. And when I get around and I go, yeah, touchdown. And she's looking at me, and it's one of those looks that I knew that I was in serious trouble. And instead of saying, would you forgive me? That was really, I was not being a loving husband. Would you forgive me for that? I looked at her and I said, hey, Jill, you just need to be a little quicker. Can you believe I did that? And as a result, Jill was just flabbergasted in my response. That dinner wasn't the sweetest dinner we ever had. And we're in the car on the way home. And she said, are you going to ask for forgiveness for devastating me in front of all those people in that lobby? I was just then starting to clue in. And I said, yeah, I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking. She said, that's not asking for forgiveness. And I said, well, I guess I don't know how to do it the right way. What's the best way? He says, when you came to Jesus, did you just say, forgive me for everything I've ever done? Or did you go to him and say, Lord, forgive me for this? It was the latter. And so I looked at her and I said, sweetheart, would you forgive me for not treating you like a lady, embarrassing you in front of everybody in that lobby, and not being a gentleman tonight? And she got really quiet for about a minute. And I think she's discerning, is he really serious about this? And then she said, yeah. And it wasn't mentioned again. And I learned something incredibly powerful that night about how powerful it is when you, as a dad, model forgiveness by asking for forgiveness. And not only will that affect your relationship with your wife, but it'll teach your daughters how to ask for forgiveness. Because where are they going to learn? Where are they going to learn about who God's made them to be? And especially in light of them making some big mistakes themselves. Because they will. And are they going to come and tell on themselves and come to you? Or just hide because they're afraid of your angst, that you're going to go, I can't believe you did that. I don't know about you, but I was coaching another friend today, and so he was talking about how disappointed he was with one of his kids, and so we're talking, and I said, well, does it just surprise you that your son's acting that way? Isn't he like 50% of you? He started laughing. He says, you're so right. I was worse. And I said, so was I. And yet, well, we're really good at trying to protect our kids from making mistakes. But what if we turn that energy into not losing connection and relationship with their heart so that they will follow us as a dad and have an open communication, be able to tell on themselves, to be able to say, hey, Dad, I'm struggling with this, versus just going to their friends to get counsel, which is not necessarily very good, or maybe just talking to their mom, and then mom comes to you and says, your daughter's really hurting. You need to go meet with her. And you're just going, well, I got this project. I got this thing to do. And why do we avoid those things? It's not because we don't love our kids, but how many times did your dad model to you asking for forgiveness? Did he teach you how to do it? Did he kind of come back and recapture your heart when um, you blew it? I mean, how good was your dad at reaching your sisters? Is a lot of their man choose a problem in their life now because they're so angry at their father, the first man in their story. And so if you can learn to really manage the unforgiveness that many times flows between father and daughter, and as well as your sons in your life. And so it's just kind of this sorry kind of mentality instead of somebody modeling and saying, will you forgive me for? Just think about those words. And, if you learn anything from me tonight, and your takeaway is, I'm really going to be quick to forgive and even quicker to ask for forgiveness. You'll avoid so many problems with your kids. Because here's the principle. If you don't have the heart of your children, they won't follow you, Dad. It doesn't matter that you pay for their food, give them a place to live. It doesn't matter that you're the parent in their life. What matters to them is that, does my dad get me? Does my father understand me and give me space to grow up? Does he trust me that I'm going to land on my feet and connect to the Lord? I hear this all the time from young people that I coach. They feel overly parented, like they get a helicopter parent that's trying to make it so that they don't suffer in their life. But I don't know about you, I've learned my biggest lessons in my life through the suffering I've gone through. And God doesn't have a problem taking us through those seasons of suffering in our life if we don't walk away from him and trust him in the midst of whatever the storm is. God will meet you right there. God will meet you, and he will use you to model to your children what a godly man does, what a godly father does to a daughter. If you're a mom, what a godly woman does, or mama does to her children. Because if we're counting on the Church of Jesus Christ, that you send them to, or church school, to teach them about forgiveness, don't hold your breath. There's some better schools than others out there. And I love all those education programs, but they learn the most about forgiveness and love and life from the way you ask for forgiveness, the way you love, and the life you live in Christ. And the more you understand that and really commit yourself to being the message and the kind of person that you would want your children to be, you'll learn more about parenting by following God the Father into those things than in all the parenting books that you read. Because I can give you like 50 how-tos that have helped me. And you might want some of those. You can sign up for our courses. There's a lot of that. But if you learn how to connect to God the Father yourself and his son Jesus through his word, and you learn how to model the life you want your children to live, you will raise children that'll change the world because they see it in you. They see Christ in you. And you might be saying, well, I've really blown as a dad. It's never too late. It's never too late for you to repair and restore a relationship with a broken daughter. I'm going to kind of end with this story that happened to me. Well, I wrote The Difference a Father Makes book, and it's gone everywhere. It's in 234 countries right now, being downloaded a couple of times every few minutes. And it's a book we give away, The Difference a Father Makes. And this guy read it a number of years ago, and he calls me on the phone, and he says, I can't stop crying. I'm that guy in the book. I was just like you. And I felt like you wrote that book for me, just sobbing. And I've lost the heart of my daughter. I divorced her mom many years ago. I've tried to write her a letter to apologize. She is in another state. And all I ever get back in the mail is a response from my ex-wife saying, "You're dead to us. Is there anything that God can do?" And I said, "I want to tell you what, I want you to write a letter. And this is what I want you to write in your letter." And we'll call her Julie. "Dear Julie, I know that I really hurt you as your dad, especially when I divorced your mother. I would like to meet with you, and can you tell me how I hurt you so that I can ask for forgiveness?" And so about 5-6 days later, she got the letter and she got a phone call. He was in Texas, she was in Cincinnati. And she goes, "Dad, is this you?" He says, "Yes." He says, "Well, I've been waiting for years because I have a question I want to ask you. Can I meet with you?" And he said, "Absolutely." And they made plans. A few days later, she picked a restaurant and he got there early and sat in the booth. Imagine this. You haven't seen your daughter for many, many, many years. I mean, she was probably 12 years old when he left, and now just she's 27 years old, and he hasn't seen her in all these years, 15 different years, and no correspondent, no pictures. And so he sits there at that booth, and every person who walks in, he's wondering, "Oh, is that her?" And finally, this girl walks in sheepishly, and they lock eyes. She starts crying right away, and he's already bawling. And he said, she comes over to the table, and he's trying to wonder if he wants to start the conversation. And she actually raised her hand and said, "I need to ask you, I have a question." He said, "What's that?" He said, "Was I that ugly?" "What? Daddy, was I that ugly? You didn't hug me, you didn't kiss me, you didn't hold me." And I figured that I was just so ugly that you didn't want to be with me or mom. And so you divorced mom to get away from me. And just the weight of that moment, you imagine how painful that was. He just hits him. And he said, "Oh no, sweetheart, your dad was really broken." As a matter of fact, I struggled with pornography at that time, and I destroyed our marriage because my private life was just in the toilet. And I was so afraid that it might hurt you. I stayed away. "Would you forgive me?" And when he said those words, he told me that she jumped across the table, hugging his neck, sobbing, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy, I've waited for you." You know, Dad, if you're watching and you're separated from your children, it's not too late. There's something incredibly powerful that happens when you own your stuff with them and you ask for forgiveness. Their heart will open because your daughters need you in their story to navigate their life, the boys of their life, even your grandkids. And after about an hour conversation and catching up, she goes, "I have a gift for you. I've been waiting for years to give you. Would you come by my home?" And he follows her, and she pulls into a gravel driveway there, and she pulls around back and goes in, and he pulls up front and walks to a screen door. The main door's open, but the screen door's there at the front. And he hears, "He's here. He's here." And out from the back of the house comes two grandchildren he never knew about, running out going, "Papa." And God reunited that family. And he broke years of separation and years of hurt with a daughter, with a father, because the dad learned how to own his mistake the best way he could and ask for forgiveness. So I share this with you tonight. Do you have somebody like that in your story, Dad? You have a daughter that's not talking to you, that help me understand question, or just pursuing them, because most daughters we coach, and I've had the honor of doing a number of women's retreats, that they're just so amazing because girls are so hungry to be whole, and is they're waiting for that moment. They're waiting for their husband to own what they did. Your daughters are waiting for their daddies to own what they did, and not just be sorry. I promise I won't do it again. But to say, "This has really hurt you. Would you forgive me?" Those words are incredibly powerful. Well, how is this possible? How do you do this? And here's the last thing I want to say. There's only one way where you can do this and be empowered as a man to do this, even though it's the perfect right thing to do, is you got to go to Jesus yourself and go, "Lord, I don't want my relationship with the girls in my life to stay the same. I come to you and I ask you to forgive me for not being that kind of father I need to be. But I pray, Lord, that you would give me the courage to go and ask them for forgiveness and not go anywhere until they come to a place where they forgive me for what I've done." It's worth it, my friend. The payoff: grannies, grandkids, legacy. Maybe you don't have any grandchildren, she's still single, but you wouldn't be surprised. But I can't tell you how many girls I've got to minister to who were stuck in same-sex attraction, that went there because they wanted to find safe love because they didn't feel safe with their dads. And how the enemy will always throw a curveball to our kids over an issue that can be solved when we learn as fathers to really own what we've done. So I want you to think about the kids in your story, guy, and I want you to think about where your relationship with. Maybe you're a mom and you're watching this, and you've been really hard on your children, and so you got, you're not willing to forgive yet because you're waiting for them to change. That's one of the slippery slopes we can get into, is that we don't really forgive somebody until we see that they're completely repented and completely changed. The only problem with that is that then we would never be forgiven by God. Imagine you going to Jesus going, "Jesus, I'm so sorry I did that. Would you forgive me?" He goes, "Do you know how many times you've done that this month? What makes this different?" "No, I'm not going to forgive you till you completely change your life." Well, he doesn't put us in that place because we can't change our life without him. And we can't change our marriages and our relationships without forgiveness. And the grace of learning how to ask for forgiveness is a powerful tool. And it's one of the most powerful weapons you have to keeping bitterness from sneaking in to the garden of your family and choking out the love and life. And so how do you break the power of bitterness in the family, no matter where it comes from? Be the model. Be the one who goes first and begin to do that. That's all I got to say about that tonight. And I'd also, if you're in a place right now where you need some coaching and your family is hurting. We have a coaching program here that I've been a part of for a long time, and yours truly has been coaching couples. It's one of the things I love to do. And maybe you need an hour with me and your wife, or just you privately. If you're interested in that, drop me an email. You can go to our website, send me an email, and say, Ed, I need some help. And I'll be there to help you and help you on this journey. And maybe you're new to our channel, and you really do want to grow as a husband and a father. Well, we have a Fatherhood Academy that Icy May, if she's there, she's going to pop up on the screen, that you can sign up for right now, which gives you private coaching with me, online courses, and even a men's groups to help you really grow as a man and to become everything God's called you to be. It's called the Fatherhood Academy. And let me try to find that banner for you. I know it's here. And, well, here we go. See, I see May's on it right now. So we have an academy, an online course that's totally designed to help equip you to be the man you've always wanted to be the husband, to be the father, to be the grandfather. We have a lot of granddads that are parenting a second time, and they want to do it right. So I'd love to have you here. And I appreciate all you that are popping in here. You can rewatch this on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, are both of our pages there. Or if you're a Rumbleite, you can go to Rumble, or you're X, one of my favorite platforms. You can go to X, and we'll be there to serve you as well. All that to say, if you got any prayer requests, I'd love for you to send them to me, but I'd like to pray for you and your family before we get off tonight. Because I know this, I know that, one of the things that God's doing is that I think he really is going to make fathers great again before the great and coming day of the Lord. I think that there's something happening in the hearts of men, just like us, all over the world. And we want our families to thrive. We want our families to be healthy. We want our families to break through bitterness. We want our children to hit the mark. And God wants to do something so profound in you, Dad, that your children have a model to follow that into. Or if you're a mom and watching, the same thing. And so, David Brookshire will send you the info. If you go to thefatherdifference.com, I think Isaac can pop that up there in the banner right now. Thefatherdifference.com, there it is. If you go to thefatherdifference.com, it's all one word. You can get access right there on our homepage. And would love to help you, David. Lord bless you. You got it, my brother. And my sisters that are there. There's Christine. Welcome. She's one of my favorite people. She was in our church. She's powerful, godly mama, and I miss her. Not seeing her every Sunday. So let me pray for you and your family. So, Father, I thank you for all the families that are here. I thank you for just kind of a night that Lord, they just let me share my heart about some of the things I'm learning about loving the girls in my life. And Lord, I know that if I can do this, any guy can. And I pray, Lord, for these families. I pray for these dads. I pray, Lord, that you would break the power of bitterness in their families completely. I pray, Lord, in the year of 2025, it would be known as a year of absolute reconciliation of families, where kids come back, where forgiveness is given and asked for, and blessing happens in families, that you would restore these families that have been fractured in the name of Jesus, and equip these guys to be the best fathers they can be, the best grandpas they can be, the best husbands, if they're married, they can be. And so, Father, I pray you would give them these tools. I pray you would protect their families, and you would raise up their children as lights in the land, much greater than the darkness that the enemy wants to sow. And I thank you, Lord, that you're going to do this because it's your promise. before the great and coming day of the Lord, before Jesus comes back, he's going to turn the hearts of fathers back to their children. I'm so grateful you turned my heart back to my kids, Lord. I know you want to do that for every guy watching right now, every family, that you would bless us, lead us, father us. In the name of Jesus. In the name of Jesus. Thank you, guys. So good to be with you tonight. And as I end this stream, there's a little video about our Fatherhood Academy. Love for you to see this. If you've already seen it, I'll watch it again. I say a couple of good things in it, but I'm so grateful that you're here. Keep praying for us. Thank you for supporting us. A number of you are sending in monthly gifts that helps us keep getting our books out around the world, literally around the world. I mean, 230 some countries. That just blows my mind. Every minute sometimes of the day, books are going out to people. And I'm so grateful for that, for free, so that they can get them instantly wherever they are. And so actually had somebody get a hold of me from New Zealand, and he saw the book and got it, and it's changed his life. Some of you made that possible. So anyway, enjoy this video. I'm praying for you. If you need me, email me and connect to me through my website. I'd love to help you. The Lord bless you.
Dear friends, imagine a world where every father feels equipped to lead with faith, love, and purpose. A world where families thrive and communities grow stronger because of devoted, Christ-centered fathers.
You know, beloved, that is the vision that God's put in my heart for every single family. You know, he is on the move, I believe. He promises in Malachi that before the great and coming day of the Lord, he's going to do something profound. He's going to turn the hearts of fathers back towards their children, so the hearts of their children will turn back to their father. That's what God is doing. I meet dads daily who want to learn to be better fathers, yet many have never been shown how. Too many families are being fractured through bitterness, and with parents and grandparents even being canceled. That's why we're launching an online community to equip men to be the fathers that God has called them to be. It's more than a program. It's a part of a movement that God is already doing to reshape fatherhood as a sacred calling rooted in the teachings of Christ. And we're calling this the Fatherhood Academy, where men will embark on a journey of healing and spiritual restoration that helps them transform their family relationship. And to make this vision a reality, would you consider partnering with us financially as we continue to reach and disciple every man, dad, and grandpa that comes our way? Your donation will help create a ripple across the neighborhoods, communities, and ultimately our nation, anchoring each child, here's the vision, in the unwavering love and guidance of a devoted dad.
Will you partner with us? Your gift, whether a one-time donation or ongoing monthly support, will help to transform lives. Together, we can equip fathers and grandfathers to lead with faith and create a brighter, hope-filled future for generations to come.
Click the link to donate today. Thank you for believing in this mission and joining us on this transformative journey.